Welcome, chess friends. This video is about the joy of creating chess tools with Claude and Tropics AI. I'm 61 years old, and the last time I wrote code was 40 years ago, mainly Pascal and Fortran and some simulation packages. During my master's in operations research, I never used Python, JavaScript, or SQLite. And honestly, I was reluctant to start. The learning curve felt steep, and I didn't want to risk disrupting my laptop stability by installing unfamiliar software. But in 2 days together, working with Claude, I built two powerful chess programs from scratch. Not just toy scripts, real tools that I now use every day in my chess work. And the experience of building them was unlike anything I expected. Let me show you what I created, how the process worked, and why the week turned out to be one of the most rewarding experiences I've had in years. And so when you think about coding, a lot of people, of course, think about programming. But this, you could say, is conversational coding. It's prompt-based. So you can see here the prompt where I started with. I'm a Chessable author, add tactics to my opening courses, and want to have the Lichess Puzzle Database available in PGN format. And I state, now comes the difficult part. I want to search for a given position to see where there is any game on Lichess that led to the puzzle position in the puzzle database. So this is how it started. It's just conversational. And let me show you what I meant with the difficulty. So Lichess, the open database, is 5.8 million chess puzzles. And those chess puzzles, of course, they are characterized by a position. But I want to have the game so I can search from any position. Let's say I have a position on move 6. I want to search if there are any associated puzzles with them. And I will show you later. So I'm not interested in the position. I'm interested in the games that led to the position and to the puzzle. Of course, you can say there are opening tags, right? Why don't you use the opening tags and you say, I want to have tactics in the Evans Gambit, and then you just use the opening tag. But let me show you those opening tags. They're derived from the eco code, Italian game, classical variation, French defense, exchange variation. So they are very broad. And that makes it not suitable for my work. I wanted to have the games. So I asked Claude in our conversation to create a program. And that is what, of course, so Claude started working on it. And of course, this is an iterative process because it's 5.7 million positions. And it would take 1 to 2 weeks just to run this. That was the time estimate. 1 to 2 weeks at safe API rates. Well, I don't want to have my laptop humming for 1 to 2 weeks in a row. So we found ways to speed up the process. I'm interested in opening tactics, right? So we scaled it down to just the opening tactics, which is like between 1.1 and 1.2 million. We added an API Lichess token, which was also speeding up the process. And so this is the way I worked with Claude. And I want to show you now how it works in Lichess and what the difference is. So you see here a position, right? And this is from the Evans Gambit after castle short, right? And now, right, I'd like to see all puzzles that are in the Lichess Puzzle Database that contain this position in the associated game. So I just do a reference search, right? And I see that there are 186 games after d takes c3, 151 games and puzzles with knight f6. So suddenly, right, if I would go back and I would say, okay, let me go to notation and reference, right? Let me go back one step, because now I can see there are 657 puzzles associated with the move that is in my chessable course 7 castles short. And then I can look for patterns. I can see if they repeat also as positions in the mega database, and I can enhance my course with it. And I think this is extremely powerful. So I work together with Claude, and in a few hours, the program was created. It still had to run for more than 12 hours. And so overnight, I woke up in the morning, and then I had 1.2 million games. And if I just click on one of them, I just want to show you how it works. Right? So we truncated the games. So, of course, in Lichess, you have a puzzle. So black plays queen d7. So that is the move that leads to the puzzle. And now it is white to play. And you can see here in the header, right? Because it's not my objective to solve the problem. It's to look for certain tactical patterns that I can use. And you can see that the solution is given bishop takes f7, king h8, queen f8 in the header. So this is for me a very powerful tool. There were 5.7 million games, positions, and they turned into 1.2 million games with puzzles. And now they are searchable in a reference search in ChessBase. So this was the first one that I created, and I'm very happy that this is now available. And perhaps it's something for Lichess to consider as a search function. So instead of just having fans, being able to search on a position earlier in the game and then look for the associated opening tactics. This was my first project. So the second project was related to creating a, so let me go back, right? So here you see the chats. It's an opening repertoire generator, right? And if I go all the way back, I say I would like to create an opening repertoire generator. Basically a tree, a PGN with a tree. And just as in the previous example where there was an iteration, I started with the idea to use the Lichess database and the Lichess master database, and then have and I will show you how it would work. Right, so the initial model here, let me go back. So you would say, I would like to have an opening tree that starts from this position. Select the moves from the Lichess database that cover, in terms of responses, let's say 80 or 90%. That should be a parameter. Then select the best move from the master database in a response to the human play that is in the Lichess database. So that was the idea. Insert the frequencies and then choose for the repertoire side the master moves, and for, let's say, the player side, for the other side, the Lichess database for a specific range, right? So I have often rapid classical 1600 to 2500. That's my choice. And that is how I started. And I also included that if there was an alternative in the master database that scored significantly higher, let's say in the top 3 or top 4, then include that move too, and then build the tree. But this is how it started. But what I found out, right, of course, I said truncated at the moment that there are no more master games. After Queen B3 and this variation, right, that's not enough master games to be statistically significant. I let the program terminate. But when you look at amateur games, there's still 25,000 games. So then I realized in the interaction with Claude and by assessing the output, that when you look at, of course, to the starting position, that there are 512 million games in the Lichess database, and the master database is currently 2.9 million games. So relatively sparse compared to the Lichess database. So then I thought, let's be very ambitious. And what I would like to have, what is the holy grail, is I would like to have Stockfish 18. Stockfish 18 analysis at depth 30 included for every variation. And then the second part I said, and let's go back to this position. When there are no master games, right? So let's look at this position, right? I use the HIARCS openings book. And the HIARCS openings book are 33 million positions, and they are curated. They're based on engine and correspondence games. And so they are very high quality, and it's my go-to openings book. So I increased the specifications of the program, and I said, choose the highest scoring master database move. If there is a move in the HIARCS database, right, that is not covered and has like an exclamation mark, it's a very strong move, I want to have that as an alternative included in the program. So you are talking about, right, we're doing a search in the Lichess database of 512 million games, the master database of 3 million games. I'm using Stockfish at the level of 30 to evaluate moves and to add moves when they are not in the HIARCS book and not in the mega database. And I'm using the 33 million moves and let's say, evaluations from HIARCS. So the best in class tools available, in my opinion, at this moment. And together with Claude, we created a program that generates a PGM, and it is no longer dependent upon the sparse master database. I let it terminate when there are basically only a few games left in the Lichess database, so from the opponent's side. And this is how the output looks like, right? So you can see here, after castle, you can see the frequencies of the moves played by black. D takes C3, 32%, and then you can see that's move 7, right? Knight E7, 19%, knight F6, 17%. And you can see, right, in some cases, you see here included HIARCS exclamation mark, because there's a move that's not being played in. So this is the position, right? So the most popular move in the master database from Lichess is knight g5. But if we look here, you can see that c takes d4 is the recommended move by HIARCS based on engine and correspondence games. And that's included as an alternative. And this is how it is being built. And then at the end of every line, there is, let's say here, white scores 55%. Or this is played in 55% of the cases. The performance is 56%, and the evaluation is that the position is equal. So I have the Stockfish evaluation at depth 30, and then I have, and this is basically how it works. So how do you run a program like that? I'd just like to show you. So it runs, this is just the command prompt, right? So you can see Python, and this is the Python program, and then it starts the program, and I can start with fn. So I can generate an opening repertoire from a position. That's the first opportunity. I can also do it from moves, right? So if I just go back to this position, and I say in this position, let's say copy main, right? Because we need to have the moves, right? So our move in my course is 7 castle, not 7 queen b3. Then it states, so the fen that is associated with 7 castle is this one. Black is to move, building a white repertoire. White moves are based on the master's database, the HIARCS book, first fallback option, and if there's a strong alternative, as an alternative added. And then finally Stockfish 18, black moves by the Lichess database. What are the opponent minimum games? So it stops when there are less than 1000 games, but I can configure that. So I can put it at 500. So that's a parameter. What is the cumulative frequency that I want to have covered? What is the maximum depth of half moves that I want to have covered for this opening? So it's 40 half moves. So in total, 20. Then the brackets for the Lichess database, 1600 to 2500 in my case, but you can see, you can configure it. What is the API delay that's being used to search in Lichess? So I have 1.5 seconds here. What is the output file? So I can just name an output file. What is the path to find Stockfish? What is the depth? So I can set it at 30. That's kind of the standard that I use for my courses, minimum depth 30, but I can put it higher. Then the path for the HIARCS book that comes of course in a proprietary format, the 33 million positions with the assessment, with the curation. So that was a major element to get that available for this program. And then it summarizes the parameters. I said proceed, and it starts calculating. So it's that easy, right? Like I said, I'm not a programmer. I did it 40 years ago. This was conversational programming. And so I terminated the program, and in a few hours, each program took me a few hours with the iterations, right? So it is sometimes I changed the specification because I didn't like the output. Sometimes the output was incorrect, so I had to highlight to Claude where the output was incorrect. Claude would look into the program and make fixes. We would run it again and then evaluate the output again. And that was kind of the process. And you can see what has the strengths of these two amazing, in my opinion, amazing programs. I did not expect that I could use HIARCS in this way, the openings book, the 33 million positions. I did not expect that I could include Stockfish this easily and just have evaluations generated for every variation at depth 30. So this is as much about the process as it is about the final programs. So I want to talk about what this week was actually like, because I think that's the most important thing, actually. Not once during the entire week did I feel frustrated, right? So if you ever try to learn programming on your own, you know how unusual it is, right? Many times you have error messages that block broken installations, hours lost on something that should take minutes. And with Claude, when something went wrong, and things did go wrong, like I explained, we worked through it together. So we debugged the programs together. I sometimes changed the specifications because I had additional insights based on the output. And this is how we worked together. So it was a generally collaborative process. And Claude, of course, I mean, I was really impressed by how knowledgeable it is. Of course, it's patient, right? It doesn't say, oh, now you're changing the specifications again. No, it understands that you have incremental insights when you go through the process. And what surprised me is the joy that this total immersion brought me. So when you're busy in realizing your vision that you have for how the chess tool that you want to have, it's like total immersion. You forget time. It lifted my mood in a way that I did not expect. I think it is something that psychologists call flow, right? When you're fully absorbed in something meaningful. And Claude made that possible by handling the technical barrier that had always stopped me before. And actually, the whole idea that triggered me to start this way was an article in the New York Times about others, non-technical people who started off programming with Claude and gave the examples. So finally realizing the vision that I had for tools for years, that was genuinely rewarding. So if you are a chess player with ideas for tools you wish existed, you can build them now. And you don't need a programming background. You just need a clear vision and the willingness to work through the problems step by step with Claude. Like I stated in my intro, I'm 61 years old. I've never programmed for the last 40 years. I was reluctant to start based on the learning curve, and I had concerns about the technical stability of my laptop after installations. I finally built what I've been imagining for a long time. If I can do it, you can too. So I hope you will give it a try, and I hope it gives you as much joy as I had. Thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe. Thank you.